my name's Lucy Pimblott. I am the Business Development Executive for Marketing Optimist, and I'm here this afternoon with Mike Munt, who is the founder and CEO of Apogii. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah.
A creative studio focusing on creating visual identities for businesses and brands to help them be recognised. So, hi, Mike. How are you?
Hiya, I'm good. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
All right. I wouldn't normally say CEO because it's not a corporation as such. It's it's me working with customers, creating stuff.
You're the chief person in charge, though. You are the person. You are the decision maker.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we'll put you as head of the business then. We'll call you that. You're the man who does. There we go.
Yeah.
So, in order that we can kind of give people who are watching, listening, however they're engaging with this, an idea as to what it is you do, I thought it would be interesting to ask, what is meant by visual identity?
Yeah. So I'd say it's all the visual aspects of your brand.
Right.
So you can say brand design, but for some people that means like every part of your brand, from the car you drive to how you answer the phones.
Yeah.
And all those things are really important. But if we're talking about visual identity, it's something more specific. So typically, that's things that you are visually communicating about your brand. So if you think about your visual identity as a pyramid shape, your logo goes in the top, and then you move down to things like your website, your social media presentation, printed collateral, slide decks, any other designed item that you might need.
Wow, so it encompasses quite a lot. It's not just the logo then, effectively, is it? It's all of so many other elements.
It's an overall presentation of what you do.
Yeah. And why is it so important for businesses to get their visual identity right from the start?
I think that if a picture speaks 1,000 words, then your logo's saying a lot more about your business than probably you are. And at the end of the day, that's all about your reputation and the picture that you are putting in people's minds about the sort of company that you operate. As companies progress, their logo and their visual identity may change. People have a rebrand and stuff like that after a launch. But it's good to consider the distance that you might have travelled between those two places. And in that gap, to think about, was that direction the direction you actually wanted to go in? And if not, then you can alter it slightly with a rebrand. If you're happy with the trajectory you're going on, then keep doing what you're doing. Maybe tighten up some things. So yeah.
Are there any instances that you can think of, sort of off the top of your head, where brand identities have gone wrong for companies, or where somebody's come up with an idea that they think is amazing, and you've kind of gone, actually, no, that's really not going to work?
Yes. The job is narrowing them down. Plenty of those. I think. I saw one just this morning actually, and it was for a building company. It was on the back of a van, and it was as you may expect, some pictures of houses, with the name underneath. For a building company, there's nothing really wrong with that. But in terms of a usable logo, there were definitely some errors. The houses had some really small details, like chimney tops and windows, like really small windows and stuff like that. You have to think about how a logo is going to be used across all media. So if that company, say, wanted to expand to have more people, and they wanted to embroider their logo on a shirt, you wouldn't have been able to do that. Not with that logo. It would have to be a different one. And there's loads of famous examples as well. There's famous examples are often down to a badly thought out campaign, actually, as well as a logo. Like the time Colgate toothpaste wanted to branch out into doing food, which kind of sets my teeth on edge. I don't know about you, but toothpaste and food going together just don't
seems
really
a little bit obscure. Yeah.
Another famous example, 2009 Tropicana, they tried to simplify their whole identity package, and normally I'm in favour of that, but what they'd actually done is strip away all of the bits which made them recognisable.
Okay.
And you may know they've got you know, an orange with a straw sticking out of it.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
They done away with that, and sales went down considerably
Wow.
once they'd done that, and I think they might have switched it back, but
yeah, I think that's it. Maybe sometimes people do think they're doing the right thing by maybe trying to simplify it, but you don't want to be too simplified, but you don't want to be. I think it's a very important point about having a logo that can be transferred onto different mediums, like you say, for a construction company, so it can be on the shirts, the polo shirts, the work shirts, that kind of thing, so that you can actually maintain a brand identity. So that kind of leads me quite nicely on to, you know, how does a business go about creating a visual identity, and a successful business identity, one that does transfer easily onto lots of different mediums?
I would start with probably the area which is probably less visual, actually,
Okay.
and that's just thinking about what you are wanting to say about yourself and your company, or perhaps even think about what you want other people to say about you if they see something.
Yeah.
They see something that you have.
Yeah.
So if you're going through that process, like, you know, you're thinking through for your brand, think about what you're offering to who, and you know, what value is it to them,
Right.
and for those people, what audience segment do they fall into? You know, kind of a marketing term there, but what sort of segment do those people
It's
fall
similar to
into?
marketing,
Yeah. This is where marketing kind of marketing and visual identity and all of that kind of come together. It's the thinking bit that goes at the front. You know, who, what, and what's it for, and then once you've got your segment, you know, what appeals to that audience segment. You know, what sort of you think about what car would they drive, all that sort of thing. You know, and
the persona. Yeah. I think that's really helpful. And I think that there's a lot of businesses that don't fully understand how powerful the visual element of their business is. And yes, it's crucial that they do whatever they do to the best of their ability, that they get good customer feedback, they get good testimonials, that the reviews and everything are wonderful. But I think there is that instant thing, like you say, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words. And if the branding and the visualization that's linked with the company isn't in tune with the company, and there's a disconnect, then sometimes for people it doesn't make sense in their head, they don't get it, so they almost kind of put it to one side and say, well, I'll go with someone else so that I can, you know, so that where the connections are made a little bit more easily. So I'm conscious that we've only got a small amount of time, so my final question is more aimed at the smaller businesses where I've been talking to a few people lately, and they're talking about the idea of keeping businesses bootstrapping, so keeping their budgets down as much as they can. I love the idea of you doing a course on visual identity so that people can get a little bit of ideas as to how to do it themselves. What would be the top 3 things that you would say to a micro enterprise, you know, that they could do themselves successfully before they get to a stage where they can employ your services professionally? What can they do for themselves?
So I guess it kind of goes back to what I was saying a moment ago. So get your thinking caps on. You know, with the process from before, you know, what are you offering to who? You know, what segment are they? What appeals to them? That kind of thing. You can then give yourself a better start in going into that process. You know, once you've got those things nailed, then you have a much better idea of what the visual aspect needs to be. And you know, and you can research all the things which might appeal to them, and you can have visual cues that you might want to incorporate in your identity. And so I you know, start thinking, put pen to paper, by all means sketch out ideas. You know, if you have an idea, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. But well, and also there's a ton of visual tools out there, you know, which lower the bar in terms of entry to creating something.
Right. Yeah.
If it isn't like a professional standard, there's you know, one comes to mind, Canva, you may have heard of.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard of Canva.
Yeah, lots of people are using that, and whilst it doesn't make you an expert overnight, you can at least put something together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what am I trying to say here? So
yeah, but keeping it simple and keeping the audience in mind and having an idea as to what the message is you're trying to get through to people. And yeah, I think keeping it simple is probably the wisest point, from my understanding of it, of having something that you can easily replicate, something that goes on to so many different mediums, but that stands out as your business. And then I guess you can, as the business grows, as the business scales and you have more investment behind you, then you're in a position where you can take the time and take the investment to go to someone like yourself and do it as more of a rebranding project, and do it as a bigger project and something that you're going to take forward. I think that's really important to know, that it may be it's not the investment that somebody makes when they're starting a micro enterprise in your first year or so, but as the business scales and as it grows and as it takes on employees, as it takes on freelancers, as it takes on people who are going to be representing their brand, then that's actually quite important that they represent it properly, so they understand the brand that they're representing.
I've helped companies with their first visual identity, but it wasn't necessarily what they actually started with. And it's kind of starting them off onto their 2.0. You know, when they figured out a little bit about, you know, what they're for, what they're about, who they are wanting to work with, that kind of thing. It might not be a rebrand necessarily, but it's their first, you know, professional launch, as it were.
Perfect. So what does 2021 hold for you then, and for Apogii?
It's it's a changeable world at the moment. There's the whole landscape is shifting. You know, people who I thought would be running forever and ever, you know, actually sort of dropping down in terms of what they're asking of us, but there's other opportunities coming over. And I think looking at the new businesses that people are going to be investing in over the coming year, you know, that's something to keep an eye on. You know, we're working with investment fund in Africa, and some of the things which are happening there now, you know, you might not have believed about the region, so, you know, a short while ago, but you know, significant things are happening, and you know, I'm in touch with people who are going to be helping in terms of their identity, in terms of how they present themselves. So you know, there's different things happening over here. So just keep your ear to the ground, really. You know, there's lots happening.
Well, that's good. It all sounds really, really good, and thank you for that. Thanks ever so much for your time, Mike. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop this here so that I can let you get on with the rest of your day. And yeah, so thank you ever so much for your time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.